Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to do a story time on the hardest class at West Point. Now, as you can see from back there, I went to West Point. I graduated in the class of 2025, and there's a lot of difficult classes you take. But the hardest and most difficult class for me and for a lot of people that you just wouldn't expect is survival swim. Now, I've talked to some of my friends who went to regular college or some adults who just didn't really understand what I meant by what is survival swim? How is it different than just you're just swimming, right? No, that's what I thought. That's kind of how I went about it, and it really was not like that at all. So, a little backstory. I'm in high school. Now, as a family, we used to go to the lake, splash around. For me, I would just get on the boat, hang out, didn't get in the water. When I was growing up, I didn't really go to the pool or do any of that sort of stuff. I actually had an event whenever I was in, I want to say it was 5th grade, graduation, and one of my classmates, Keith Andrews, pushed me into the pool. And then whenever I was reaching up to grab the ledge to get out of the pool, she stepped in my hand, and then it was a whole thing. I got saved. I had a hot dog. It was great. So I get into West Point, and near December, I believe, is when I got my acceptance. And somebody told me, they say, hey, swim is a thing. Now, I knew that swim was a course there, but everyone else was like, okay, I don't know how to swim, but I know if I splash around, I can get in the water. My mistake. So I go to school, and I go through our day. There's an our day swim test, and I go to the non-swimmer group because I was like, hey, I can splash around and save myself, but I can't survive, I can't do laps or anything, but I can throw my arms around. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go, and I'm going to go to the low area. And the low test was all right, get in the water, start treading. I've never actually practiced treading before, so I'm gulping water, trying not to sink, putting my life on the line. And I'm time, 20 seconds. Grab the wall. I'm this is ridiculous. I'm okay. Everyone else is going to swim 300 meters. You're just going to swim 25. Just do it down. So I'm going. I'm flailing my arms and throwing, and I get across. I'm thinking I'm doing great. And he's like, okay. And then write something, and then I go off of my day. And I say I go off of my day, but everything sucked at that point. So I'm well, pool time over, time to go get yelled at, whatever, and that's fine. So I go back to my squad leader. He's asking me, he's like, hey, how was it? I was not gonna lie, not great, but it's okay. So I get a notification once the school year starts, once I've graduated from the Beast basic equivalent thing that we do. And I get a letter saying, hey, you're going to be doing survival swim. You're in the elementary group, which means they're basically going to teach you everything. And I was like, oh, that's great. Now, at the time, I weigh maybe 200 pounds. But I had just made the team, which I'll probably do a story time on another time. I just made my team. And for this team, I had to be 178 pounds. Meaning I had to lose 20 pounds. I'd never wrestled before. I'd never done any of that. So I didn't know what I was doing. But I was like, okay, these are very doable things. I got it. I'm fine. So I go to day one of class. We had to wear masks at the time. So I leave my mask in the locker room and I walk to class. It's across the hall. So it's literally a 3-second movement from the bathroom to the class. And there is a civilian instructor, which we had a lot of, but civilian instructor, and he's yelling at us. He's like, where's your mask at? Come, you're late if you're not here with the mask on. And I was there's 10 seconds left before it reached, I believe it was 7:40. It was 7:39:50. So I was okay, I run back, I grab my mask, I get back there. He's like, you're late. I'm telling the person in charge of us, right? So I'm okay, well, that's unfortunate. It's the first day I've been in class and I'm already late to something, but okay. So we get in the water, we're in the shallow end, and we're flapping around, right? And that's how the first couple weeks of the class go. They're like, here's the side stroke, here's the breaststroke, here is the freestyle. This is how you tread on your back. This is how you tread. And they're showing us different things to help us progress. And I'm like, well, I'm not great at this. I'm sinking, They used to call it rock swim, right? Because rocks don't float. And I don't float. And I'm trying my best. They have like a little pool noodle thing. And I'm using the noodle. I'm using the fins. And then eventually they're like, no more noodle, no more fins. They have this little hook, and they're like, this is the rescue hook, and if you ever need it, we're going to save you. So I'm treading, I'm fighting for my life. I'm at like 25 seconds, and I truly feel like I've been doing it for an hour. But I start to like feel myself start to get pulled down a little bit. And I'm kicking and doing everything, right? And then I look over at the hook, and I'm like trying to grab for the ledge, and I keep missing. And I'm going on there, and I'm like, am I gonna get saved? The hook, right? I feel some metal. Instead of hooking to like help me, the hook pushes me further in. And the instructor says, keep fighting, right? And I made it to 45 seconds, and I was like, I cannot physically do this. I grabbed the ledge. So that is like what we're doing. We're doing progression work. And we reach a point. This is normally you take a semester or half a semester swim. But for me, because I was in the low version, or you take a full semester. Is it half? I don't know. Anyway, because I was in the low version, I was doing like a whole semester. Yeah, it was half semester because you did 2 classes. I was in a whole semester. So they're like, all right, we're going to transition to the survival swim part. We're going to start putting on uniform. And I'm like, so I can't swim normally, and you want me to put more clothes on? Fine, right? And when you put uniform on, it's all fun and dandy, and then you're like splashing around. You're like, oh, this kind of inflates a little bit. You have all this, and then all of a sudden they're like, go ahead and throw your boots on. Now the boots they give you to use, right, the standard issue boot, if you've ever been in the service or have felt like a heavy Doc Martin type boot, like they are heavy. They are heavy. You tie and put them on your feet. You get in the water. It is an absolute brick. So like I said, I can't float, and I'm over there fighting for my life. So what does that mean for me? Well, we just got to keep going, keep hoping. And so one day, right, I'm starting to get a little better with the boots. I'm like, I can kick my legs, and if I just lay on my side, and I can't freestyle at all. I got bad shoulder mobility, all this stuff. I can't do anything technical, but I can lay on my side, and I can just throw my arm out and hope for the best. But one day, we're in class, and they're like, all right, we're gonna start introducing some of the equipment, and I'm like, all right. So this whole time we have like tested events, like can you tread for this amount of time and then do certain things. We call them gates, and it's like you jump in the water, you swim around, you do bob and travel, like you're trying to move through the water, and you have like little tests. And I'm bad at everything, but I'm like, it'll work out. I'll get the points I need. I'll pass. I kid you not, they gave us a dummy rifle and a dummy flick. And it has like weights in it to represent canteens, because this is supposed to be survival swim in case you go down whenever you're doing anything. Like if you're doing a convoy and you're in a vehicle and it goes into some water and you have to get out, or if you're flying somewhere and you're over water and then you get taken out and you're going down into the water. So with all that in mind, I'm like, okay, I just have to be better than the worst person. Well, in my class, I was the worst person. So we're doing all this stuff. I'm like, I can't do it. And one of the gates, you have to jump in, and you have to swim down to the other length of the pool, 25 yards in uniform with the boots, with the flick, with the rifle. All felt crazy hard. But it's like, all right, once you do that, you have to, once you reach the halfway part, you have to turn over, roll over, and you have to take off the equipment that you have, right? So there's like little straps on the chest. You have to unclip while swimming forward, making progression so you don't drown. You have to get over, you have to roll, get your arm out, roll over like this to get the stuff off of you, right? If you do it right, everything comes off, it feels easier. If you do it wrong, though, and I was often doing it wrong, you're like this and something gets caught, or your uniform gets stuck on your arm, and just trying, just giving your all, right? So I did this test a couple times and I couldn't get that part. So then my instructor's like, you can bob and travel. And I was like, bob and travel. It is where you jump in the air and then go down to the bottom. And then once you're on the bottom, you plant yourself and you jump up, right? So you're just like jumping, moving across, right? I could do that. I could sink well. So I was like, bob and travel, that's me. So I keep bobbing, I keep traveling. And the next part of the test, once you get the uniform off, so like for me, I had to get to a certain point, and then I sat at the bottom of the water, and I'm taking everything off, and I'm trying to collect my breath and whatever. So I take it off. I come up to the water. I come up to the surface, and and the next thing is rifle taps, right? So the same treading I could barely do before, I swim over, and you have to tread water, right? But you have a rifle in your hand, so you tread with one hand. And there's a little frisbee above you. So you're treading water like this. You have to keep your ears above the water. So you're treading water, and you have to tap the rifle, fully submerge it, tap, fully submerge, tap, fully submerge, right? For me, I'm like, I can barely do this with two hands, two arms. I can barely do any of it. So you're asking me to do it with one arm, right? So I struggled with that for a while. And then after you do the 3, you can let go of the rifle, and you swim up to this barrier, right? So the barrier, you have to swim over whenever you first go there. But the next time you do, you have to swim under. Now, I could barely hold my breath. So I was like, heck to the no. But basically, you go down, swim under, and it's parallel. And then once you come up to the other side, they call it swimming to freedom. So then you swim across and you finish. That's one of the tests. I could barely do the basic stuff. So I struggled with that, right? But once that unit or section was over, I was like, all right, it's fine. It'll get better. Wrong. The next thing you do, gate 2, you have a 6-meter tower and a 10-meter tower. Now, 6 meters, and when you're standing up there, you have to climb this long ladder, whatever. You get to like a diving board, and you can look across into the stands. And like you can see your eye level with the stands that are like above the pool. So you can see down into the pool. And I'm like, whoa, hold on, not a fan, right? And so they're like, you have to go off. And there's an old man yelling like, if you can't do this, how do you expect to do anything? So I'm like, all right, well, I can't swim well, but full send. Like if I can't swim, I'll be the proof to everyone else. Like don't be afraid, right? So I'm going off the 6. I'm doing all that, whatever. And then the next thing you have to do, and the teacher is like, hey, you have to do this, or you have to at least attempt. So you go to the 6, right? The 6 is high. You're looking, you can see across. Then they're like, we're going to do 10. So you climb another rung of ladders, and I'm climbing up, and I'm feeling it, right? Because when you're going down on the 6, you have to stand in like a vertical plank. You're like this, and you're just like, hopefully, when I hit the water, tension breaks, whatever, it's calm. But there's like, you hit the water, you go down so far, and there's just like bubbles just bursting through, right, with the pressure, and then you rise, whatever. The 10 meter. So I jump in the water from the 10 meter because you have to step off. Step and you just let your body go, then you have to collapse your ankles so that you make that like that straight line. So I do the 10 meter, and it feels like you're falling for eternity. When you're looking at the lookout part, the ceiling looks like it is that far away, and you look down and you just see a huge pool. Everyone's little, right? So that's the 10 meter. When you're falling, you're just like, this could be it. And you see the person in front of you, like I saw a guy hit the water and get like an instant nosebleed, and or just people that go up and then they can't go off, so then they have to like just stand there and watch, and it is so high up, right? But that's just getting used to going off, right? The next thing you do is going off the 6, right? And there are hoops that are underneath the water, and they're in a pattern. So like for each lane line, there is a hoop, and you kind of have to just follow a path where you underwater are swimming like this, back and forth, back and forth, and until you get to the other side of the wall. Then when you get to the other side of the wall, you push off, come to the top, and resurface. So this whole time, you just jumped off a 6-meter tower, you hit the water, you can't come up for air, you have to keep swimming. So like basically your body's trying to go up, you have to keep going forward. So I'm swimming down essentially to get, and you manipulate that, right? And then you have to swim 50 meters, which is down to this end and back, right? And the whole time, you are out of breath, you're gasping. Like, I saw people black out from how far they went. And you're just going, and they call it swim to freedom because there's an American flag, and then on the other end, you're done. So you're swimming, and it's like, all right, just don't stop, whatever. Again, one of these tests where it's like, I just need to get this done. And you keep thinking to yourself, it can't get worse. But wait, it does. It does get worse. You know why it gets worse? Because the next gate you have, Survival Gate 3, is some more of the same, we're going to prepare you for the next step, like the next progression. So what you do is you jump in the water, right? And you don't have a rifle. You don't have a rifle on at this point. But you jump in the water off a board, and you have to jump, slam the rifle down into the water to open up this little hole between the gun, which is here, and the sling. And you just put it on, put the sling on, you gotta swim, right? And Survival Gate 3 is not that bad, right? You swim down, and then you take off the rifle, and you have to inflate. So with the inflation, they kind of teach you, like, this is the safety aspect of, like, you can breathe into your top, and it can inflate. So you basically act like a turtle. And you're breathing in to fill and make a hole on your back. And you want to stay horizontal, whatever you do this. And once that's done, then you got to start taking off stuff, right? So your boots, you have to, one hand, and you have to curl into a ball. You're like barely above water, and you're taking off your boot, unlacing it, whatever. You got to kick off the boot. Then you got to do the other boot. Now you're swimming around. But here's the hard part. You got to inflate your pants and tie them, right? Because the pants are, the blouse would keep you above water. The pants would keep you inflated. They act kind of like a life vest. So you got to undo your belt, and you're taking down your pants, right? And you're still swimming. This whole time you are swimming. Like, this is something that it would be difficult to do standing. But you're taking off the pants, you keep that inflation, whatever. Pants come off, and you have to catch them, right? Because if you don't catch them and they hit the ground, you're done. You can't go to the bottom. You have to stay above water when you're doing most of it, right? So you get the pants, and there's methods. But the one I would do is like, all right, you tie the two ends of the pants, and you tie them like make a knot, and then you wrap it around yourself. When you're tying it, you're not using your arms to tread. So again, treading with your feet. And I could not tread. I was a rock. Then you put it around your neck, and you're basically just trying to get water and air into your pants. So there's multiple methods, but some of the funny ones that I did, or the ones that people did, were you open up a hole to have some air, scoop, and you start scooping water. And then you just close it, and you can hold the end that has that, and it has like a life vest. My personal favorite, and the one I often did, was the you like lay on your back, you put the pants around your back so the opening was there, and we call it like hippo, and you just flap your arms as you move backward, and water and air would come in, close it up, inflation. Some people, the crazy people, would take it, go underwater, and like hot air balloon, you just blow into the pant to try and get this inflated. And once you're done, you have like a life vest, and it's awesome, right? And the whole time you're just tired from treading, tired from trying to do all this stuff and remain calm. It is exhausting, and it is really hard to do if you're not good at swimming. You have various tests in between, like a 10-minute swim, where you have to swim around for 10 minutes, so stamina based, a 5-minute ACU swim where you swim around in uniform for 5 minutes. It all gets very exhausting, right? But then comes Survival Gate 4. And I'll include a video. Survival Gate 4 is different. And you might say, how is it different? Well, they make it like a live test. Now, I'm going to give you the events of it. You basically start with ACUs on. So full uniform, a flick, which is the vest, and then the rifle. And you have all that, and you're like, all right. So you got to get in. And there's a point progression. So, mind you, I'm desperate for points because I need to pass. If you swim around, so you got to swim around in a box, essentially around the whole pool. There's no lane lines. It's just a pool, so empty water. If you go down and you swim the full box and you keep everything on, right? And then you're able to inflate with the rifle in your hand. 45 points, right? If you get in the water and you can swim around with all the gear around the full rectangle of the pool, and then you drop the rifle and inflate, you get 30 points. Or you get 35 points. If you can jump in the water, get to one end of the pool, ditch all your stuff, swim around the rest of the length, and then inflate, you get 30 points. Now, I was desperate. I just needed points at all. So 20 points. You jump in the water, the second you get in, you take everything off, right? Throw the rifle off, take the flick off, do all that stuff, and then get into the inflation area and inflate. And so, I just need a point. So I was like, I'm going to do that. So I jump in the water, I take everything off, I throw it off. I probably could have, I was moving quick. I was like, I just need to get in, get out, be done. I get to the inflation area, I'm trying to inflate, I drop my pants. So I fail. And I failed the class because of that. So then, right, I don't end up passing. You still have to do every other class, right? So you still have academic classes. Like I'm learning physics, calculus, biology, history, all these psychology, all these different courses you have to take. And then you have the physical ones, right? So you finish swim, I don't pass. Now what? Boxing. You have boxing. You got to go to a class and get punched on and do the punching on your classmates. You got gymnastics called military movement where you I do a handstand. I haven't done a handstand in a long time. Do cartwheels, do vaulting, do balance beam stuff. Just stuff you don't do. And then we have a course that's really difficult. But then because I failed, they put me back in swim, right? And so they tell me hey, you'll have a little bit of time in practice. You'll take it next year. Wrong. I go home for winter break. I come back. They're like, hey, new news. You're going to do it right away. So I do right away. At this point, I weigh 175 pounds. I'm at 8% body fat. So I'm dying. I don't eat food for my sport. So it's real bad. I fail again. So then hey, we're going to put you in the summer version. You got to pass this one. I'm doing great, right? All the tests I mentioned, all the things I've done, I'm so much better. I help people. I go off the tower to show people it's not that bad. I'm in the class, and suddenly, I start to deteriorate a little bit. I'm I'm not feeling too hot, right? I feel like I'm sick. If the normal class is 45 minutes, the summer class is an hour 30 because it combines 2 class periods, and then me and my roommate would go in the afternoon. So we'd swim for 2.5, 3 hours a day. And again, neither of us could swim well. Turns out, right? So I ended up failing, and I'm how? I was on track. I was doing all the right things. A week later, I'm in the hospital. I had pneumonia. I was sick. Left lung pneumonia took me out. So they tell me all right, you failed 3 times, which almost never happens. But because I had a good record with other stuff like academics, and I was on a team, and I was a good teammate within my company, which is my group of people, I was pretty well liked amongst staff and faculty that interacted with me. I got another chance. I was able to do the class this 4th time. I was a tutor in my free time, and it was crazy because I went from not being able to swim to being able to teach people. So very, 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 very much so difficult, but also a great experience in learning and leading and understanding what you're not good at and leveraging how to be better at it. Because the same people that I was worse at in swim, I taught them how to box or taught them how to do some of the trampoline stuff when we got to mill move. So it was awesome. It was awesome, but also the worst day of my life, up until the day I finished. And I had probably the biggest smile on my face of all time, just because it truly was different, trying to understand what just happened and what went on. But yeah, anyway, that is me. That is survival swim at West Point. I'm telling you, it sounds easy. It definitely was not. If you enjoy this video, if you want more story times, if this is the type of content you want to see, leave a like, leave a comment down below, let me know, and then subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.